Nest Teens, join me tonight, 7 p.m. for our last Zoom meeting together. We're going to play a game and hang out. Two facts I have for you today. The word burrito means little donkey in Spanish, and the word y'all dates back to 1631. My lesson today is called Can You Hear Me Now? Have you ever been talking to someone on the phone and the call was still active, but they didn't say anything? Or you texted someone and they never answered you. Or maybe you were talking to someone on the phone and there was so much noise and static you couldn't understand what each other were saying. When this happens, it's so frustrating. It makes you feel like you're having what? A one-sided conversation. That's a lot like prayer. It's very common to feel like you're having a one-way conversation with God. When this happens, it often makes you not want to pray or pray less. Sometimes it causes you to stop praying altogether. Let me ask you a question. Do you still use your phone even though it doesn't work like you want it to sometimes? Today I'm going to talk to you about the importance of prayer and why prayer doesn't always work out like we want it to sometimes. So why is prayer important? Like talking with a friend, it strengthens the relationship, focuses you on who He is and what God has done, provides answers to life's problems, calms your fears and anxieties, and brings peace, refreshes you spiritually. It's spiritual fuel. Can move things in motion by moving the hand of God, and changes you and the way that you look at things. Why does prayer often feel like a one-way conversation? 1 Kings 19:11-13 says this: "Go out and stand before me on the mountain," the Lord told him. And as Elijah stood there, the Lord passed by, and a mighty windstorm hit the mountain. It was such a terrible blast that the rocks were torn loose, but the Lord was not in the wind. After the wind there was an earthquake, but the Lord was not in the earthquake. After the earthquake there was a fire, but He was not in the fire. After the fire there was a sound of a gentle whisper. When Elijah heard it, he wrapped his face in his cloak and went out and stood at the entrance of the cave. In this story, Elijah was searching for God. First he looked for Him in the windstorm, the earthquake, and the powerful fire. But God was not in any of those things. Elijah did not feel God's presence until when? Until he heard the quietest of whispers. Do you ever find yourself expecting God's voice to come in a loud, powerful, obvious, flashy way? I know that when I desperately am seeking God in prayer, I most often want to hear and see His response in very obvious, visible ways. If I'm sick, I pray for healing and I want to feel better immediately. If I need help with a problem, I want a clear solution. If I'm in emotional pain, I want God to make the pain go away. Sometimes, though, we talk to God in prayer and feel and see no change. It is in those moments that we need to remember that God's voice sometimes comes in a whisper. As you seek God, is it quiet? Are you seeking Him in a quiet place? Do you have faith that He'll answer you? Are you possibly ignoring His answer because it's not the one you want? See, I think that most of the time, it's not that God hasn't answered our prayers. It's that we're just not tuning in properly to receive the answer. Prayer is a spiritual discipline because it takes hard work. I challenge you to put in that hard work because it is worth it, and it will change your life for the better. Discussion and questions for you today. Why do you think that God uses a whisper sometimes instead of a dramatic experience? How can more prayer time change your life for the better? What things in your life can make it difficult for you to hear God's whisper? Then the deeper learning opportunity today, it's tough. I'm going to tell you, it's tough. But I hope you try it. Spend 15 minutes in silence, focusing on God's voice. Remove any possible distractions and try hard to focus your brain on God. Then journal, text me or someone else about your experience. Let's pray. Dear Lord, I thank you for the power of prayer. I thank you that it works. I thank you that it's a resource for our lives, and I pray that you will show us in real ways how it can change us for the better. Pray that as we seek you in prayer, we'll see you show up. As we decide to pull away from distractions, we'll see you show up. We love you, Lord. Thank you for just being awesome to us. In your name we pray. Amen.